Hey guys, it's Caitlin here and welcome back to another video. So today we are doing a spooky build, and I know that Halloween is already over, but I am a bit behind this year with my spooky builds. I do have a very good reason for that one though, which I will probably share with you guys throughout the video because I feel like it's going to be something that's going to affect future videos as well. But yeah, anyway, so I decided to do this spooky build, which is actually based on a real building. It's based on the Rotorua Museum in New Zealand. And originally the Rotorua Museum back in the days was like a luxury spa slash health and medical center. Now I originally thought it was a hospital until I did a little bit of research on it and realized that it was more of a medical health center slash spa. But since I had already pretty much furnished this entire thing like it was a hospital, I'm just gonna roll with it and just say that it was a hospital when it really wasn't. But it is heavily based on that build essentially. On the outside at least. On the inside I sort of just made it up because I don't exactly remember what the inside of the actual building looks like, except for, you know, certain sections and stuff like that. But you know, anyway, I like the way that it turned out. It's supposed to be spooky. I mean, in all honesty, I think the reason why I thought it was a hospital is because when I went on a school trip to the actual real building, like, it felt super eerie when you went in there because certain medical procedures that they did in that building were things like electroshock therapy, I think it's called. It used to, like, that's what it used to be called back in the days, electroshock therapy, but now it's got another name, like electrocon something therapy. I can't exactly remember, but it's got a new name now. And I think, like, I don't know if it was exactly a safe practice back in those days, but it just felt really eerie going inside there. And often, even though it's mentioned that it was a spa, I think it was more of a place where people went to get healing done and things like that, because they used you know, different mineral waters and things like that that helped people's eczema and helped, I don't know, other skin issues that people had. And they also, I believe they also had like mud baths in there, because Rotorua, if you've ever been to New Zealand or if you've ever heard of Rotorua, it's a big tourist city pretty much, and it's popular for its geothermal activity, which is kind of like included in the mud. If you ever go to Rotorua, warning, it does actually really stink because of the geothermal activity and things like that, but that's only normal. It's pretty much like sulfur. It's like the smell of sulfur, or, you know, I don't know. But yes, that's pretty much what this build is based on. Now, I feel like it could have been creepier on the inside and more abandoned-ish. It's kind of creepy on the outside. I didn't include all of the footage in this video simply because there was just so much of the footage and it took me so long to get done. And the reason, actually, let me tell you guys the reason why it's taken me so long to get this video out. I actually started this video 2 weeks ago, and I was okay when I started this video, but about just under 2 weeks ago I had an accident at work where I had a fall, and I did sort of injure myself a little bit because of where I landed. It's it's not the best place you want to land on when you fall, but I fell, and sometimes it can be very painful for me to sit down for extended periods of time. So of course, when you're doing builds, you do have to sit for quite a while, and me being a slow builder, I usually take 3 hours plus. Unless it's like a really small house, it'll take me like maybe an hour and a half and things like that, but generally it will take me about 3 hours plus to get a build done, and then I'll cut things out and everything like that, so it's shorter for videos and such. But this one took me longer. This would have been a video that would naturally, if I did it in one sitting, probably take me about 5 hours. Again, slow builder here. I know other people can probably do this like really easily in 3 hours or less, but me, no, it just takes me a lot longer. And because of my little issue of not being able to sit down for long periods of time, I've had to get up quite often while I'm building, and it just makes it difficult to get things finished because, you know, you get distracted, and then there's things that happen, like I've got work and things like that just kind of get in the way of me trying to get this finished. So I'm finally doing this voiceover now. I got it edited yesterday and I was really struggling with the video voiceover yesterday. I just couldn't find anything to say, so I thought I would save it for today. Even though it has been 4 days now since it was Halloween, I don't really care. I'm still going to upload it. There's no rules anyway to say when you can and can't upload spooky builds. And I know Rosebud and Jess and I can't remember who else it was, but they were all telling me it's totally fine. Like, they're going to continue uploading on the weekend, or on the weekend after Halloween or the week after Halloween and everything like that. So I'm like, I'm going to do that too. So yeah, hopefully you guys don't mind too much. But anyway, you guys are probably wondering why I'm putting in like an old empty pool when it's supposed to be a hospital. Like I mentioned, I based this off the real building, and the real building has a big, I wouldn't say it's a pool, I would say it's like a giant shared bath. Like back in the days, I'm sure some of you guys will know, back in the days, more in like, I would say Roman cities, I think, they had bathhouses where people would come to a big building and they'd all bath in the same water. They'd wash their clothes in this kind of water and things like that. They wouldn't wash their clothes here, but they would all come to just kind of bathe in the water and hope that it'll heal some of their skin problems like eczema possibly. So that's why I've got that pool there. It's supposed to be like a empty mineral sort of bathing situation. When you think about it, it's kind of gross, like a lot of people having skin issues all bathing in the same, like in a gigantic bath together. Like, of course it's not like washing bathing, but it's just like resting, sitting in the water and things like that. So it would be kind of like gross when you think about it. I don't think they do that these days anymore because it's probably not the best idea to do that, but they have a giant one of those, so that's what that empty pool is supposed to imitate. I basically just put like a basement in, if anybody's wondering how I did that. It's basically just a basement, and yeah, pretty much just a basement, and I use like flooring and tiles to make it look like a pool, and drains and things like that. But yeah, so I do actually have a few spooky stories. They're not exactly spooky because they're not real. When I say they're not real, like they were figments of my imagination, put it that way. They were figments of my imagination. They weren't something that could have possibly really been there and things like that. But I thought I would share a few spooky stories because I've been watching Zistel's Halloween videos, and she had some spooky stories and they're quite creepy. And I think what makes them even creepier is the fact that she doesn't actually know whether they were real or whether they were just figments of her imagination, or she doesn't actually know. Whereas with mine, I know what it is now. Back when it happened, I didn't know, but now that I know, so yeah. Anyway, if you guys haven't actually seen her videos, I highly recommend going to check them out. Check out her spooky machinimas as well. She uploaded one yesterday and she's got 2 other videos. They're pretty cool, and I pretty much call her the queen of machinimas because she is that good at the machinimas. But anyway, so spooky story number 1. Let me just try and think what that one was. Okay, so a few years back, this one actually took place in the form of a dream. So the night prior, I had been reading a book where one of the characters in the book wakes up and she sees a person standing at the end of their bed. She goes to turn on her, side table lamp, and the person's gone, and she doesn't know if she's imagining it or not because she literally just woke up. So anyway, I usually I wouldn't find that spooky, but I am one of those people that are absolutely terrified at anything to do with horror. So I am afraid of Chucky. The doll. I'm sure everybody knows who Chucky is. I'm afraid of Chucky. He is creepy. Dolls especially are just creepy. I have not seen Annabelle because creepy. So in my dream, I was actually sleeping. In my dream, I was sleeping and I had woken up to see a figure standing on the side of my bed staring down at me, and I looked up and they had the face of Chucky. Had super long hair, and it was like kind of like witch's hair, but I'm pretty sure it was like the orange color of Chucky's hair. Or was it Chuck? I don't know. Chucky, I think. Chucky the doll? Yeah. Anyway, I saw that in my dream, razor sharp teeth, just staring down at me with his like teeth out and just the evil eyes and everything like that. And I started screaming. But the thing is, my scream wasn't just in my dream, it resonated to reality. So I was actually screaming in my sleep, and it wasn't just one scream, it was repetitive screaming. Eventually my own screaming woke me up, and of course I went back to sleep because I was like, oh, it's just a dream. Okay, so I went back to sleep. When I woke up in the morning though, I was kind of thinking, I was like, did I scream last night? I don't really remember if I did or not. And then my brother's walking around the house and he kind of stops and he looks at me, he's like, were you screaming last night? I was like, oh, okay, yes, it was real. I was screaming in my dream or in my sleep. So yeah, I don't know. I know it was a dream, but it's freaky to think about it because, you know, as everybody's experienced dreaming, and dreaming can sometimes feel very, very real. In this case, it felt very real and it was very creepy. So that's my story number 1. I don't know. It was just creepy. So story number 2, I feel like is slightly more creepier, but at the same time not creepy. And again, I was actually sleeping. But this time I was sleeping, I had my door open because I had my cat sleeping in my room. When the cats are in my room, I leave the door open so they can get in and out and such. So yeah, my door was open and I don't know why, but I woke up and I saw just this black figure walk past the end of my bed and it walked out the door. And I was like, what the heck? So I looked towards my door and I was just staring at my door, and I saw the figure kind of like peering at me from the other side of the door, and it was just staring at me, and I ended up kind of like yelling at it and saying, you know, like, what? Like, basically, what are you looking at? Why are you staring at me? Who are you? What are you? And it's funny how believable my mind made it for me, because I literally was so freaked out that I got out of bed, and because I was half asleep, usually I wouldn't do this. When I get scared of things, I usually just kind of stay frozen in one spot until I know that there's somebody else around. But I usually just stay frozen in one spot. But I guess because I was kind of like half asleep, I didn't really think about it too much. But I got straight out of bed, went into the hallway, like turned on the lights. I literally turned on like all the lights, and I stared down the hallways trying to see where this figure went. Couldn't see it anywhere. Went into the lounge, turned on the light, couldn't see anything in there, and then I came back into the hallway and was just staring down the hallway, and I thought, I bet whatever it is, or whoever it is in the garage. But I was too afraid to actually go in the garage because it's kind of at the end of the house and there's nothing else there, like there's no other rooms to connect onto it. So I guess in my sleepy brain I was thinking of scenarios like, what happens if there is somebody in there, what happens if they have something on them, and then I get caught in the garage with nowhere else to go. I suppose that's what I was thinking at that time of night. It was probably like 2 a.m. or something. I don't know what time it was, but I was freaking out anyway. So I went and like banged on my parents' doors, woke them up, said that there was somebody in the house. I was like freaking out. I was like, there's someone in the house. I think there's somebody in the house. So they immediately got up, searched the house and things like that, and turned out that my brain was just playing tricks on me, because at the time somebody was actually awake, like someone in the house was awake, and I just happened to not see them as I was walking around turning on all the lights and stuff. But somebody was awake just going to the bathroom during the night, and I guess because I left my door open, I would have possibly like seen somebody walk past the door, and then I don't know, I guess my brain just sort of placed the image of somebody walking through the hallway into my room, and I don't know where the peering around the door came from. I don't know, that would have just been my brain as well, but it was just playing tricks on me, and it was just crazy. It was a little bit scary to experience that, because I really didn't know that it was not real at the time. Even like after I knew that it was real, I was still kind of like freaked out a little bit. But yeah, anyway, so that's pretty much my spooky stories. So I've just seen where we're up to on this build. Now this room I'm building with the bath, it kind of probably looks a little bit odd. Now I decided to put this room in because remember how I said earlier about electroshock therapy? When I went to the museum, they had some of the rooms still kind of maintained. I mean, they had done certain aspects of the room up a little bit, like just giving the walls some fresh tiles, because they were probably like super ruined. I mean, it is a really old building from the early 1900s, I think it was. It could have been earlier. It could have been in the 1800s. I'm not too sure. But they had the electroshock room that we went into. It had like a bathtub, and I found this room like super eerie going into it, because the tour guide was basically saying that people would come and sit in the bath and they'd fill it up with water, and then they'd have like a doctor or some person who would electrocute them as they're sitting in the bathtub. And I just found it really creepy, because I don't necessarily know if anybody died from electroshock or whether it may have killed them back in those days. Like, I mean, water and electrocution don't go well together, so in my head I feel like there are potential deaths in that situation. Again, I can't remember if anybody had died. It's possible that people had. So I just found it very eerie being inside that hospital. Sorry if you guys can hear my phone. I'm getting a few messages from one of my workmates at the moment, but I will answer those after. So as I was saying, I decided to add one of those rooms in, just with the bathtub, with the seat. Of course, these like modern day little medical tables, the one there that you guys can see, of course they wouldn't have had those back in the days. There is actually a photo I came across on the internet of one of the electroshock rooms, which if I do, I might try and overlay it onto the video so that you can see that. You guys will understand why I find it eerie once you see like a real picture of the setup from the old days. It is super creepy. And I guess it makes it more creepier, the fact that it's like the original bathtub. When you look at it, you think, oh my gosh, you know, somebody one day was in that bath being electrocuted, and it's just so creepy to think about it. But I will try and add an image of that. I'll try and see if I can like add an image of the original, you know, how it was used back in the days, like a really old photo, and then one of how it looks set up in the museum today, because it is really creepy. The other thing about this, like, I don't know, I just found this museum so creepy, because there was also like a little section of the museum where you can go, like there's like a little trail underneath the staircase. You go underneath the staircase and you can see all of the old water pipes and things like that, and it is very creepy. And it was really funny, because while I was searching for information on the internet about it and everything like that, I came across an article written by a British man who said it's a really awesome place to visit, and I found it quite funny, because he mentioned this little trail that goes underneath the staircase with all the pipes, and he said it's quite creepy being down there. And I thought I thought the exact same thing. I was like, yes, it's very creepy being down there, because in the photo, I'll attach a photo of that as well. In the photo, it doesn't look as creepy as it does in real life. In real life, the actual little trailway, it's quite dim down there. There are lights, but it's very dim. You have to wear a hard hat when you go down there. And at the end of the hallway, you're basically walking down to the end of the hallway, and there's a window at the end of the hallway. I think there was a window, if I can remember correctly, because you can see light coming through down at the end. But the reason why it was so creepy is because they had, like, they sort of set up the area to look a little bit creepy. So they'd have, say, like an old suitcase down there, or they'd have like a red hill down there amongst the water pipes. And to me, it just made me feel like those were items back from a long time ago that had been lost by people. And it just gives me those whole like ideas in my head that people could have potentially like I know this is definitely not what would have happened, but potentially people could have been like murdered down there. I don't know, that's what it feels like, just because there's like missing shoes and random crap like that. It's creepy. I find it creepy anyway. So once you get down to the hallway, at the end of the hallway, it feels even creepier, because they've got an old bathtub. I remember walking towards it. I was with my best friend actually. We were walking down towards it, and as we got to the end, I saw the bathtub, and I saw these things that sort of resembled knees, and I freaked out, because I have a a little fear of like wax figures, wax dummies, fake people in general. Mannequins are a different story. Mannequins are okay, but like things that resemble humans, like quite realistically, such as wax dummies, they really scare me. And of course, a lot of museums have wax dummies, which is quite ironic. I really want to go to Madame Tussauds, and they basically, you know, all they have, the attraction there is celebrity wax figure dummies. But I don't know, I feel like that's slightly different. I guess I wouldn't mind those, but going to museums and having wax dummies that look really old and realistic and things like that, they just scare the hell out of me. So anyway, you can imagine as I come down the hallway under these stairs in this creepy little trailway, I see the end of bathtub with what looks like knees poking out of water. I freak out, turn around, and I start running down the other end. And it's really funny because I freaked out my friend as well, because she wasn't as scared as me, but I was freaked out. So I just literally made a dash for it, and I ran all the way back out into the hallway. I was like, no, I don't want to go there. I saw knees, there's a person in that bath. I know there's a person in that bath. And she managed to try and talk me into coming down there with her again, because apparently I freaked her out by doing that. So she talks me into going down there with her again. I was like, okay, but I'm not looking. So literally, as we got to the little opening, as I saw like the bathtub starting to emerge again, I was like kind of creating a shield with my hand to cover my eyes and things like that. As we got closer, I think I was hiding behind my friend, and as we like finally got in, my friend's like, it's not that creepy, just have a look. I was like, no, I'm not having a look. But I made her take a photo of it so that I could have a look at the photo when we got out. And when she showed me the photo, she was right. It wasn't that creepy. At least it wasn't as creepy as I had imagined it being. But now that I've gone back and I've searched for images on Google to show you guys of what I was creeped out about, I find it does still look creepy. I even showed my brother, and he also finds it kind of creepy. So yeah, I don't know. I will try and attach those photos as well, because they are currently on my phone, so I will need to get them onto my computer. The other creepy thing about this building is back in the days when it was run as kind of like a spa and such, they also had a nightclub, which is really interesting. They had a nightclub and a restaurant occupying the upstairs levels of the building. And it's really interesting, like a spa / health and medical centre with a nightclub upstairs. Like, who does that? I don't know, but they did it anyway. And you can actually walk up through the old area of where the nightclub is, but pretty much all it is now is like an empty roof, and they've had to build in beams to try and support, you know, the roof to hold it up, since it's so old, and they've got a modern day platform, I suppose, so we can walk up on it and have a look. And I will actually attach a photo of that as well. Now, bear in mind, all of these photos that I will be attaching, majority of them have probably been, you know, exposed, like had a higher exposure when the photo was taken, because by memory I remember all of these places being quite dim, and that's what made it so creepy, is that they were quite dim and it felt kind of like dark and cold and eerie and such like that. So bear in mind, when you guys see these photos, they won't look creepy, but I think it's because the exposure was higher when whoever took the photo, because I do not remember it looking like that one bit. I don't remember it. It was just, unless my memory is just like shot and I was just a lot scareder than I thought back then, I don't know. But either way, if you guys ever go to New Zealand and you ever visit, you might understand when I say it feels kind of eerie. Plus they've got like all of those old cabinets out in the hallways displaying all of the old medical instruments and stuff like that. And if you guys have ever seen old medical instruments or tools, they look a lot like torture devices, like back in the days. Because if you guys have ever seen torture devices as well, I think I possibly have. I can't exactly remember. But anyway, apart from that, I totally forgot that this museum had other little attractions as well, and it was really funny because we got in trouble because we weren't supposed to take photos, but we took a photo anyway because we totally forgot. We took a photo and we got in trouble, so it's quite funny. But anyway, besides that, The build itself that I've done is pretty much made up on the inside. I tried to make it as creepy as I could with like rundown like tablecloths and dirty mirrors. Sometimes I've got a little bit of rubble on the floor. I figured that could kind of act as if parts of the roof have fallen in, or you know, part of the walls have cracked in and things like that. Lots of cobwebs, water stains, cracks. Perhaps there were a few earthquakes over the time that caused these cracks in the walls and things like that. The furniture itself though isn't exactly run down, which kind of sucks. Like, I wish we could like do something to make things look more run down. It would be kind of cool. But yeah, I mean, there's only so much you can do, I suppose. It's also very white, like the colours. It's not very colourful, just a lot of like old rundown looking timbers with some white sort of dirty looking walls and things like that. I figured most of these buildings are pretty like whenever you watch old movies, they've always got really white walls in the hospitals, and the beds are like these white, really uncomfortable looking beds and things like that, and they just have like everything looks uncomfortable, if that makes sense. But yeah, hopefully you guys will be able to see pictures properly in the screenshots, because I do realize that the way I placed the dividers inside the hospital rooms and things like that, like the wards and things, you're probably not going to see much. So I may possibly actually delete some of those during the screenshots, because I haven't taken them yet. Just because I need to add more cobwebs and things like that, because I often have a habit of you know, adding little details after, because I find it's just not necessary to show it all, because it gets kind of boring. Like, I do show some of it, but I'm not going to show all of it. So yeah, hopefully you guys will be able to see those in screenshots. And yeah, anyway, I just quickly want to say as well, if this voiceover was really terrible today, it's because I have not done one in like 2 weeks, or maybe less than 2 weeks. But every single time you have a little break between doing voiceovers, it's always like a little hard to get back into it. And I don't know why, because you do it so often, but when you try to get back into it, it's always weird. So you always end up kind of like a little, I don't know, just a little, yeah, not as excited as usual when you make voiceovers, if that makes sense. I don't know if that does. But anyway, I think I will leave the voiceover here, because we are coming up to the screenshots very shortly. But I hope you guys enjoyed this spooky build, and I will see you all in my next video. Bye guys!